This is BBC News, the headlines at 10 o'clock. Tonight, the owners of a capsized Italian cruise liner say a significant human error was made by the captain. The death toll has risen to 5. The company says Francesco Schettino, now in police custody, could have been to blame for the Costa Concordia running aground. All Britons aboard the ship are confirmed safe, and the first passengers from the UK return home.
It's like what you see in these disaster movies actually happening to you, and you've got to think how to get out.
We'll have the latest on the situation in Italy as it develops. In other news, Coast Guards hunt for 5 fishermen after a trawler sinks off the south coast of Ireland. The woman and 8-year-old girl found dead in a house near Leeds have been named. Defending the pay freeze, Ed Miliband says it would be irresponsible to promise to reverse government cuts. And could a silent movie sweep the boards at the Golden Globes as the Hollywood awards season gets underway? Hello, a very good evening to you. The owners of the cruise ship that ran aground off the coast of Italy on Friday evening say their captain made errors of judgment resulting in serious consequences. In a statement published on the Costa Cruises website, the company said Captain Francesco Schettino had sailed too close to the shore. Today, 2 more bodies were discovered aboard the stricken cruise liner, taking the death toll so far to 5. Our correspondent Matthew Price is at the scene and sent us this report.
The Costa Concordia lay beached today, stricken, stuck, scarring the Tuscan coastline. As we drew closer, it seemed less real, less plausible. Imagine trying to escape from this. A world turned on its side. The top deck tennis court, its baseline now the waterline. The sun loungers, slammed against a partition wall. And here, the violent gaping hole where the water flooded in.
Well, as the rescue effort here continues, from this vantage point so close, you realise the sheer horror of what happened. This is the front of the ship, the bow, the bridge there, the windows, where the captain and other crew members would have had a clear view of exactly what was happening. It is now a third of it underwater. Remember, this happened in the middle of the night, and many of the survivors that I've spoken to have told me that they feared they simply wouldn't make it out alive.
As the sea became choppy, on the side of the ship, now its top deck, a rescue team slowly hauled out someone stuck inside. Eventually, an Italian crew member was winched to safety. 2 days trapped with a broken leg.
What's up? It's too much. There's 3 hours into it.
Others, including Nick Talley and his friends, are also safe.
There was Italian families trembling, handing me their children, telling me, take my child, put him on the boat. And we had to wait over an hour and a half before we could get onto that boat. And the boat was obviously sinking, and it was tilted to where we couldn't even get on.
The ship's captain has been arrested, accused of abandoning the vessel before all his passengers were off. He may be charged with manslaughter. He defended himself today.
The
ship wasn't heading forward but sideways, as if underwater there was this rock projection. I don't know if it was detected or not, but on the nautical chart it was marked at about 100 to 150 metres from the rocks, and we were about 300 metres from the shore, more or less. We shouldn't have hit it.
The captain is usually the last to abandon ship. What happened, Captain?
We were the last to leave the ship.
Many question that, but for now the focus is the rescue effort, the hope that just somehow more may make it out of here alive.
And Matthew joins us now from Santo Stefano on Italy's west coast. And of course, Matthew, since you sent that report, certainly in the last 30 minutes or so, these developments coming from the owners of the Costa Concordia appearing to place the blame squarely with the captain.
Yes, it looks as if they are. What the owners of this cruise liner are saying is that they believe the captain made errors of judgment. They are also saying that the emergency procedures, the correct procedures, the international procedures were not followed as far as their presumably initial investigations determine. We know that the black box has been recovered today, and so that presumably will yield some more scientific analysis of this. But it's interesting that what the company is saying in terms of the correct procedures not being followed tallies with what quite a few of the survivors who I managed to speak to have been saying. They point to delays in the timing from the first time that they knew that something was going wrong, when they felt that the ship they presumed hit something, quite a delay between that happening and people actually being put onto lifeboats. Certainly a far greater delay than would be necessary if you were following international procedures. So there's that question to be asked. Also, it's been quite interesting today talking to people over on the island who themselves suggest that the ship did seem to be very close to the island, and there's even some reports of a letter emerging that suggested that a previous captain of this ship had said that he would be delighted to surprise the islanders by sailing very close into the land as some sort of big hello or tribute to the island. So I mean, that's far more speculative on the part of the reports coming out here, but there's certainly an awful lot of questions being asked here in Italy at the moment, and this statement tonight from the owners of the cruise liner would appear to back up, at least in their judgment, to back up at least some of those rumours.
But given that divers are still searching in the hope of perhaps finding someone else who survived, this statement seems pretty rapid, doesn't it?
The fact that people have lost their lives and that the death toll may go up. I would imagine that this statement is born out of commercial considerations at this stage. Clearly it is good PR, if you like, for the company to be saying that, look, we've conducted an investigation, and everybody who's blaming the captain, this man who's been arrested, well, they're correct, and in a sense they're kind of jumping the gun. There presumably will be an official inquiry into this, although I haven't heard talk of one. As I mentioned, the black box presumably will yield scientific data, verifiable data that will give records, and should give records, of the conversations perhaps between officials on the bridge at the time that this incident started, and throughout its progression over the subsequent hours. But at this stage it does look as if the cruise liner company itself, the owners, are trying to get ahead of any formal investigation by saying, look, we agree with what the public, the survivors, have been saying, that the captain is to blame, and we regret that.
Yes, indeed, Matthew. We're just seeing a tiny bit more detail on that statement from the company, where they're saying it seems that the captain's decision in handling the emergency didn't follow company procedures, which are in line and in some cases, they say, go beyond international standards. So as you say, the company is attempting, in the circumstances, to put as good a face on this as it can. Just briefly, if you would, bring us up to date with, we mentioned the search, bring us up to date with what is actually happening tonight.
Yeah, there was some suggestion earlier this evening that rescue workers believed that they had heard some noises coming from inside the ship, possibly from people trapped in there alive. The Coast Guard is now saying that that is not the case. There is concern this evening that fuel from the ship, that they may have to be careful that that doesn't start to leak into these pretty pristine and rather beautiful turquoise waters off this part of the Italian coast. So that is another concern. As I understand it, the rescue, the search mission continues, but in terms of figures at the moment, we have, as you said at the beginning, 5 dead and 15 people still unaccounted for.
Okay, Matthew, thank you very much. Matthew Price there in Santo Stefano for us. Now, in other news, 5 fishermen are missing tonight after an Irish trawler sank off the west coast of Cork. One survivor managed to scramble to safety.